Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of You Got, a Game of Thrones podcast, which I do hope you know by now. If not, there are spoilers ahead.
Dun, dun, dun.
Here be monsters. My name is Carly.
And my name is Sophia.
We both, just kind of diving right in, we both thought this episode was going to be a whole lot of very fluffy fan service, and it turned out not to be, which we're pretty happy about.
You could definitely argue that there were parts of it that were fan service oriented. However, I would argue that instead of it being, a fan fodder episode, it was more like a love letter to the fans in a way.
Yes, it was more of homage to the series and to what we've been loving and watching for the past, oh my God, feels like forever in life, and I don't know what we're gonna do after.
We don't have to think about that until it's done, Carly.
No, we don't. That's true. But it was an homage, whereas I feel like this is the first time this show has been.
I got excited. Wine glass
making
over
music.
Here. Don't mind me. I'll just hold on to it.
Just hold it closed there. It's getting unruly.
Okay, hold it tight, wine glass.
Tight,
calm down.
Calm down, wine. It's because the bubbles. It's Prosecco.
It's not even wine.
It's not.
I mean, it's wine, but it's exciting wine. Not what Cersei drinks.
It's a little scamp of a wine.
Cersei would have a smile on her face if she drank Prosecco or champagne, okay? Like,
maybe that's why she's so mad all the time.
She just needs a little champagne in her life. Champagne
she
in
has
her
no
life.
bubbles.
No bubbles.
Ever. I do feel like this episode did what the show hasn't been able to do successfully in a really long time, which is to make an episode that while it satisfied kind of the fan servicey aspects of it, where it kind of gave us the warm and fuzzies where we needed it, it didn't do that by feeling like it was trying to be a fan fiction or like feeling like it was trying to kind of pull a Supernatural where it's like, let's just pander to the fans, but like we're in on it too, it's fine.
Right.
It felt like it was...
Way to throw Supernatural under the bus there,
Hey,
Carly.
listen,
Jeez.
they revolutionized that and using Tumblr as their inspiration.
Fodder.
A little.
We get it, guys.
Fan fodder.
Rest in peace, Supernatural. Thank God you're coming to an end. Okay.
R.I.P.
Anyway.
You were good for a while.
You could argue that season 4 is really where it fell off.
That's true.
And that's where, honestly, you could argue that Supernatural also fell off because Eric Kripke left in season 5. We can talk about Supernatural another time. We're here to talk about Game of Thrones. Apologies for that tangent. Yes, I would agree with you. An episode for a books, if ever there was one.
Yes.
I would say it felt like an homage to the older seasons, right?
Yes.
This is when the older seasons followed the books to a T. It felt like we were, again, like, not rewatching, but like it felt like we were watching those conversations between Ned and Catelyn, and between Ned and Rob and not Ned and Rob, Ned and Robert,
yes.
and Catelyn and Rob, right? And Cersei and Robert, like all these those conversations that meant something, but we didn't pay attention to because maybe they didn't, like, it just was right. It felt right and correct. That's what this episode felt like to me.
I totally agree. And I think that that's one thing that I know I've been missing for a really long time is that, because I did a big rewatch, like I said, I think in the first episode of this season, I did a big rewatch of the original seasons, and I miss the kind of feeling that you got when you were watching the original God, which was, it was just so,
nice.
Thank you, snuck it in there.
I won't even judge you for that one. That was a good one.
Thank you so much. No. Thank you so much. But yeah, it was just, after season 4 ended, it's had a different feeling, which, I mean, we could argue it's a very different show now, but at the same time, I do think that this show, thrived when it was kind of keeping to the books, but it also thrives in battles and in conversation. And I feel like we have been, this episode was all conversation. That's all that happened. And it was good. It was awesome. Because, I mean, if you think about the first season, really, some of the scenes that stand out the most, one of them is between Cersei and Robert, which is just a conversation, musicless conversation between the two of them.
Where they talk about how is the world still alive, and it's because of their marriage.
Exactly, yes. And I feel like this is a great callback to just when Game of Thrones is pure Game of Thrones at its best. And I'm really impressed. I'm impressed that they pulled that off, especially after the first episode of the season was so fan fiction-y.
Right, and it's not that bothered us, but if I had known that this episode was coming after it, I don't think that I would think as highly of the premiere as I did.
I agree. I
that
honestly
makes
don't
sense.
even know if I see that as the premiere. I see that as kind of a like a previously on almost.
Yeah,
or like
a recap. It's
yes,
like it's kind of like
tying
a
up
bunch of
loose ends.
deleted scenes that
Yes.
they forgot, that they just chose to pull out of episode 2 that they put in to episode 1. And like that's not a bad thing. But I agree with you in that, it's extremely reminiscent of that first season. It was, to me, it felt like the writers and or DB and Dan, I don't freaking know, but saying like, hey, we're sorry, like, this is what we should have been doing the whole time.
We hear you.
We hear you. It felt like the characters and the audience were almost having conversations with each other.
Yes, I completely agree. That's one of the biggest things I noticed about this episode is anytime it teetered on, it could have been fan servicey, like, it felt like we were all in the same room because the characters and the audience are experiencing the exact same thing. They're wondering who's going to die. We're wondering who's going to die. We're all kind of in this together. And I loved that. We're all in the same boat, which I loved. And you hit the nail on the head because that's what I loved so much about this episode. And it's the fact that it really kind of brings everybody in. And again, like in the parts where it seems like it could be a little fan servicey, like the characters are talking to the audience, they're not. We're just all in the same place mentally.
Well, yeah, it was like the characters reacting in real time to what was happening around them. And a lot of Game of Thrones is based off of plot points, right? Like here is this really important thing that's about to happen. The Night King is about to attack Eastwatch by the Sea. Watchers on the Wall. The wildlings are about to attack, the Night's Watch. It's all based off of these plot points, and instead we know the plot point is coming. We know that the Night King and his army are on the way. So do the characters.
Well,
we're all on the same boat
the army.
here.
Maybe not the Night King.
It felt like we were. You're right. It felt like we were all in the same. We're all in the same boat now.
Yes.
They are just as worried for their livelihoods as we have been through the entire series.
We're always worried about who's going to die.
For the first time, it's being echoed in the show because they're afraid too.
And they're all together.
And they're together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I that's why this episode, even though there were moments that I shrieked, not maybe out of goodness, but out of surprise.
Yes.
And even though this episode, it didn't have moments like that. It was just that these characters all were together and experiencing life.
Right.
But in a very, this episode only took place in one area. It took place in Winterfell. It didn't take place anywhere else. Cersei's not even in it. Which is interesting that I talked about last week that she shouldn't have been in that episode.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they honestly shouldn't have even introduced her until episode 4 at this point. If all of this is going to take place in Winterfell, the only reason is for them to introduce Harry Strickland. I don't see there being any other reason except for that. So that's how I feel about that.
That's fair.
You know. However, it just felt like we're with them. We are with the characters, and we don't know what's coming. And these are characters we've been with, and we've kind of known. I mean, as a book reader, I've known what's gonna happen. To Daenerys, to Jon. But like, no, you know things. Like, you do know certain plot points. The Red Wedding, the Purple Wedding, Jon. You know these certain plot points. But right now, we aren't. And I feel like it was finally them kind of saying to book readers in a way, like, here.
Yeah.
Here. You get a slice of the books.
You get surprises.
Again. You get a slice of the books again.
Yeah.
Because this episode read like a book.
It did. Yeah. And so we've talked so much about how the show struggles with pacing, because it does. Except and tell me if you disagree, but I think one of the strengths of this episode is that it was very slow. This episode took place over a day? A day. It was a day because they said we have until basically tomorrow.
Right.
Or sunrise. This episode took it very slow, and we haven't had that in a long time. We've been very rushed. This is the first time the characters have ever had a chance, and we've or not ever, but in a long time have had a chance to sit down and talk. And we haven't seen that in a long time either. That's one of the reasons the first season was so good, is because there was time. There was time for characters to sit and talk and develop, and we could see that. And I loved that they gave us kind of like a calm before the storm.
Yes.
I think we all needed that. I think the fans needed that. I think the book reader, everyone, the characters, everybody needed that. And it was just, it was awesome to see I mean, just the pacing to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Oh my God.
it felt really good. They were kind of giving us a bit of a respite, and
Yes.
that feels it feels nice. None of us were sure what this episode was going to be. We
Right.
did kind of assume that it was going to be similar to the
Fluffy.
first one and fluffy, but this one it didn't feel as fluffy. It felt as if our characters were facing the music and are facing this fact that they will probably die in 24 hours.
Right.
And how do they react to that?
And one of the highlights of that is when Tyrion, pretty much all episode, is like, we're all gonna die. And we're all thinking that is like, yeah, they're all probably gonna die. I mean, I've talked to several non-show watchers, and they're just like, I've heard, like, is everybody to die? I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Probably.
And then Tyrion at one point kind of gets drunk and just goes, maybe we won't.
And everybody laughs at him, but
everybody
it's like,
laughs.
that's how we are. He is the audience at that moment.
And in that moment, I swear we were all Tyrion. We were all Tyrion in that moment.
Last episode we were Arya. This episode we're Tyrion. Yep.
I wish we were all Arya in this.
Don't we all?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, those that are interested in men.
Yes.
Kendrick. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We're gonna get there. So I say we just dive into this episode then, and I would be remiss not to talk about the very first episode, or very first moment of the episode, which was the trial of Jaime Lannister, which was, I'm very happy they started with Sophia's waving her arms, super excited. Now she's doing the inflatable dance man.
It's cool.
It's fine. Everything's good. But I'm very happy they started with this scene. I liked it. I think it could have gone on a little bit longer.
Agree.
There's a lot more that could have happened. For example, I mean, Dany and Jaime have non-directly met before, like, on the battlefield. So, like, that could have been a conversation. Yes.
Spoils of war.
Spoils of war, exactly. He's seen what she can do, but also I really wish that Jaime had taken this opportunity to explain to Dany what he had to Brienne, which was the truth about the Mad King. Because Dany doesn't know.
Yeah.
Dany really doesn't know. And we can see hints of Mad Kingness kind of in her, or at least her father's.
The question of whether or not she will be the Mad King and she will act in the way that he did. I agree. I also thought the scene was cut a little bit short. It felt a little bit disjointed when Brienne just kind of stands up and is like, I vouch for this man. And Sansa's like, I believe you. And then Jon's like, I'm here. We need more men.
No eye contact with Dany.
No eye contact with Dany. And
the
then
whole episode.
And Dany is literally outvoted.
Yeah.
It happens all in the course of 8 minutes. That being said, I agree. Also, I wish that there had been, okay, sure. They didn't have that much time to tell this episode. It's only 55 minutes.
Yes.
That's fine. However, the way that they chose to tell it, I wish that Dany and Jaime had gotten a little bit more recompense.
I was so excited for a one-on-one.
Me too. And I hope maybe they'll both survive next episode so that this can happen. Because, I mean, we're all about breaking the wheel. There's nothing more there's nothing more like breaking the wheel than accepting your father's murderer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I could see it. But I agree. I think it was a little rushed.
Yes.
But everything that Jaime said, I appreciate. A lot of people were rubbed the wrong way with him saying I would do it all again. But I think that harkens very much back forward to what he and Bran talk about, which is that had he not done it, nothing like this, none of this would have happened.
Which is one of the things that we talked about last episode, actually, is that if Bran had...
Can I just say?
Oh.
Last episode.
You
and I just...
nailed it.
Give me a little high five.
All
right.
That was real quiet. Right. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. We nailed that.
We nailed it a little bit, a lot. Like,
pretty proud.
A little bit, a lot.
Go back and listen
proud.
if you don't believe us.
Yeah, because we did make a point to talk about two kind of key things that came up very heavily. One was, do we need Tyrion anymore? Which I'm really happy that they addressed in this episode because
You were really worried about that.
I was really worried. He's still my favorite character. I love him so much. I saw a little Barnes & Noble toy of him sitting on the Iron Throne holding a glass of wine, and I want it really badly.
I'm going to buy that for you. I can't believe
my God.
you didn't. I can't believe you didn't buy that.
I'm trying to be good.
All right. We'll go to Barnes & Noble later this week.
They have a little George R. R. Martin. I always want to buy it for you. They have a Gurm. I want to get you a Gurm just so we can do something with it. I don't know. But
we don't mean that in a weird way. We just
mean
that. I don't know what she means by that, to be honest.
We're going to Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants him back and forth where we just send him back and forth to each other.
Okay, you got it.
I don't know in what context, like with candy or something.
Sure. Candy.
So the other thing that we covered,
Okay, sorry.
maybe we'll send him with a mini manuscript of the next 2 books that still need to come out, because that'd be adorable.
Hot fire right there, Carly.
A little bit. I'm a little upset. I'm not even a book reader. Anyway,
I appreciate you being upset for us. Thank you.
So I'm a little upset because I got the first 5 books leather covered, which is great. Like, I have them in
more
leather.
than I have.
Well, but like then there's 2 more that I'm gonna have to buy, and I'm like, well, this does anyway. Okay. So
I'm not even gonna ask how much that was, because if I do know, I will buy it myself. Just don't tell me. Don't tell me. I won't. How much was it? How much was it?
I feel like this is gonna come back to bite me.
I'll delete this
It's like $50.
That's not that much
It's
money.
not that bad.
I would be willing to.
I'm
I would
surprised
be
you
willing.
don't have it.
Where is it? Hang on. Oh no, we'll
No,
talk about this later.
right
We'll
now.
talk about this later.
This is not the time. So the other thing. Oh my god.
So the other thing.
The other thing that we covered last episode of the podcast that came up heavily in this episode, and I was super excited to see, was Bran and Jamie have a conversation about how basically if what happened to Bran, if what Jamie did to Bran never happened, Bran would still be Bran, Jamie would still be Jamie. Arguably, the 2 characters who've gone through the biggest transformation in the show would not have done that. So, and again, it's kind of like it's the show coming back on itself. It's time repeating itself. It's kind of the full, like, time is a flat circle a little bit in the show.
Well, it's also, I mean, Jamie straight up asks Bran. He goes, "Why didn't you bring up the fact that I caused you harm? Why didn't you tell everybody?" And Bran goes, "Because it's not necessary. Like, what do you think they would have done if they knew that?" It's just another thing to add on to the pile of Jamie Lannister. Yeah. It's not necessary. And also, what you did is why I'm the Three-Eyed Raven. It's why you are here.
It's why Jamie is Jamie, too.
It's why, right. Jamie has gone on this entire hero's journey because he pushed Bran out the window.
Yes.
And Bran says that to him.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I love that we talked about that last week. I love that it came full circle this week. It's very important because those 2 characters I've always said, I have a very special place in my heart for Bran and for Jamie. And so to have those 2 characters finally be in a scene together after 8 years, I mean, I was ecstatic.
And it was 8 full years. I mean, it was first episode of the show versus where we are now.
Right, second episode of season 8.
Crazy.
Right, exactly. It was so important. And also, it's important, I think, for Jamie, because if he is going on the hero's journey, as we've been following him, which we can say he definitely has been. He's finally shown up in Winterfell. He needed to talk to Bran. Jamie needed to have this moment with Bran. And so for them to give it to us and for them to give it the time that it needed. Yes. It didn't feel rushed. The pacing of this episode was beautiful.
They nailed it.
They nailed it.
They did a great job.
They nailed it.
And I do think in the scene of the trial of Jamie Lannister, there is one more callback too, and it's they kind of call back to when Jamie saved Brienne because she saves
brings
him
it up.
Here too.
Yep.
She brings it up. And fully saves him in the scene as well.
She absolutely does. And we mentioned that last episode too.
Yes, we did.
But Bran is the only one that is able to come to Jamie's aid at that point. And I think Bran also knows that because Bran could say, yeah, he pushed me out of a window and I don't blame him. But then that would get Sansa angry. That would get Jon angry. Instead, when Jamie says this goes beyond loyalty.
Yes.
And then looks at Brienne. Oh. She knows that her words have finally sunken in. Her words from last season when she tells him to screw loyalty. It doesn't matter. This is not about loyalty anymore. This is about a fight for survival.
There's a much bigger battle going on.
He looks at her, and that's when she knows. She's like, oh, it's my Jamie. This is the Jamie that I know.
Yes.
Not Cersei's Jamie.
More happens in their stairs than any other moment in any episode ever.
Are you talking about the knighting scene?
Oh, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, but you are. You're referencing it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But
we'll get
no,
there.
I
to my favorite sex scene, which was just
the
staring
best.
back
You mean
and
the
forth.
best sex scene in the episode?
In this show.
Okay.
And there was no sex.
There was no sex.
Oh, just eyes.
No, I'm with you on that. I think
Yes.
that it was extremely important. Brienne stands up, and when she stands up and says her piece, Sansa trusts Brienne. So
Yes.
Brienne saying
Finally.
her piece, and Jon trusts Sansa. So therefore, that's a domino effect right there.
Yes.
Sansa trusts Brienne. Jon trusts Sansa. Dany is outnumbered.
Loyalty in the North.
Loyalty in the North.
Yes.
Which also comes back up later.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of Bran mentioned something really interesting in this episode, which was that he's not sure if Dragon's fire has any effect on the White Walkers, which is strange because it's strange to see Bran not sure about anything. Yeah, that's weird. And my first thought was that he's lying. We've seen him be able to withhold information before. I wouldn't put it past him because maybe he is trying to set a certain domino effect into motion. I don't know. But we dug into this a little bit. Specifically, you dug into this a little bit. Yeah, because I didn't believe you.
Nope.
So
okay.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one because this is your triumph.
Yeah. So during the moment where the Star Wars moment where everybody is around the map and talking about what they're going to do to face the enemy, someone asks, well, do we know if Dragonfire affects the Night King? And Bran goes, no. You know, because that's Bran. And then everybody's like, what? No? Okay, I guess we'll use that. But here's the thing, guys. We very clearly know that Dragonfire does not affect the Night King because it's shown to us in season 7 in the Battle Beyond the Wall. I have a screenshot. I went back and watched the episode for you. I did this because I was like, wait.
I was there. I can
We've
confirm.
seen him deal with Dragonfire before. So if there's any inkling of us knowing, of the audience knowing whether or not Dragonfire specifically affects the Night King, this is the episode that would tell us.
And we know it affects whites. I mean,
Yes.
fire
it
just
destroys whites.
plows through them.
Plows right through them like they are
a Lannister army.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. Like they are the Lannister army. Like plows right through them. However, when the Night King kills Viserion,
Yes.
he steps through dragon fire.
More even, it reacts to him.
Right. It literally is around, like it moves around him.
Yes. It shrinks.
We know that it clearly does not have any effect on him.
Right.
Therefore, the entire conversation that they have means nothing. They're wrong. They're completely wrong. So this will fail. But
Yes.
Bran should know that.
Bran should know that, and it's a little weird to me that he doesn't. It's a little convenient. But anyway, I'm not going to gripe about it, but it's weird.
It's a little bit of a you got gripe because
yeah.
if either they should know, Jon, Dany, Jorah, Tormund, or Beric, who was there in that moment,
they should
know, or Bran should know. But whoever asked, and I'm pretty sure it was Jon, who knows nothing, so it doesn't surprise me that he didn't notice. But Tormund or Beric or Dany should have said, nah, dog, we brought the dragons against him and it didn't affect him at all.
We saw this happen.
Right.
He was fine.
He was fine.
Yeah,
I got nothing on that. I literally have nothing on that because I have a screenshot. We will post it later on on our Twitter. The Twitter. But no, it was frustrating because it leads me to believe that Bran, either our cast of characters literally is dumb, or that Bran knows more than he's letting
honestly
on.
I that's what I believe. I don't trust that he doesn't know that. I don't. Like he knows everything. Like where Jon knows nothing ever. Like the more Jon seems to learn, the less I think he knows.
Yep.
With Bran, he does. He knows everything. And if he wanted to, he could go see. He's watched like every character have sex. He knows everything that's going on. Like I just don't believe.
He's watched every character have sex. I mean, look, he's a teenage boy at heart. He's in the body of a teenage boy.
This is what
like,
got him into this situation. This is what he started his whole journey with, watching people have sex. I'm just saying, like, this is just consistent. Anyway, so I don't trust that he doesn't know this, and I don't know. I don't know what it means. I still.
You killed me with that line. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm literally losing my mind over here. Anyway, yeah.
So just to wrap up talking about Bran Ex Machina a little bit.
Yeah, Bran Ex Machina.
I do still think he's the Night King. I do. I'm sorry. I do.
Carly!
I know.
Ah!
I still think he is.
So you think he'll survive the Battle of Winterfell?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he totally will.
I do too, but not for the same reason.
That's okay. I think he's gonna survive. I think the reason that he thinks the Night King is after him is weird.
Well, there's literally, I mean, okay, I get it. The Night King marked Bran, right? So clearly Bran and the Night King are connected. However, Bran saying, he'll come after me, it's just like, I don't understand. Okay, he wants to he wants to create another long night. Like, we haven't even, so then you're saying that the Night King is connected to the Night's King who created the original long night.
Well, no, his reason is because Bran has all the memories.
He's a three-eyed raven.
He is, but like, I don't know, like, you can get rid of him. It's not going to wipe the memories of every other human that exists.
Well, unless you murder every other human in every other book in Westeros. Are you going to
murder those books?
You're going to go to Old Town and just murder those books, man.
All of them.
All the books. He could.
Fahrenheit 451 this
he
place.
is the author of Fahrenheit 451.
He is.
In Westeros, little known fact.
Yes.
The Night King is, who wrote Fahrenheit 451?
Bradbury.
Yeah. The Night King is Ray Bradbury in Westeros. He is the Westerosi version of
Ray Bradbury. That's true. That's canon now.
That's canon.
That's canon.
You heard it here first.
What else does he do with the downtime he has? You know he has it.
Yeah, he's got to be writing books.
He's
got to be writing books to replace the books that he's going to burn.
Yes, and then he reads them to his cold babies.
His 99 cold babies.
Ugh. He's got 99 cold babies, and a Stark might be one.
A Stark might be one.
Who knows?
Oh my god. Anyway,
so
let's move on.
So we've seen a few redemption moments for a few characters. We've seen the redemption of sort of Jaime in the eyes of, or I guess by the word of Brienne. We saw, again, kind of Jaime's redemption through Bran a little bit.
We've seen Theon, yeah.
Theon, exactly. Another character, though, who we saw redeemed a little bit was Tyrion, which I was so excited to see because
you were worried about this last week.
Oh my god, I was so worried about Tyrion because, I mean, people made a really good point. He was important when the show was about politics and about strategy. And as much as we need strategy, much like Blackwater, which him at the top of the castle, at the top of Winterfell at the end of the episode, very reminiscent of Blackwater, if you ask me. Very much
absolutely,
so.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Best still the best episode of Game of Thrones of all
Totally
time.
agree. 100%. I will go down with the ship. Sorry, a lot of ships sank in that battle.
Damn, so many ships sank in that battle. And not only that, but Stannis Baratheon's ships sank in that battle, Carly.
He deserved it. He did.
Excuse me?
He chose wrong. I'm sorry.
Do you want to take that back?
I don't.
We'll talk about this later.
Okay. We'll talk about this off podcast.
Yeah, off podcast.
And maybe make a mini-sode about it.
We'll see.
We're going to debate it.
An argument about Stannis Baratheon in the Battle of Blackwater. It's fine.
I'm
Everything's fine.
We have not.
It's coming, folks. Get ready.
It's gonna happen.
It's happening now. So the redemption of Tyrion, though, is yeah, okay.
It was a big worry. I mean, he really seemed like he had no place in this world anymore, especially after how Dany has kind of interpreted him as this just not helpful hand to the queen. Which, I mean, to be fair, some slip-ups happened. At the end of last season, we saw Dany less than impressed with Tyrion's ability to lead her.
Yep.
We saw that a little bit this episode as well, and last episode.
She gets pissed at him.
She gets
irate,
pissed.
even.
I would say so, yeah. And he even jokes, to Jorah, you're going to be wearing this pin pretty soon. And
to Jorah and Varys, but I think Jorah is the one that matters.
Jorah's the one that matters here, yeah. But Jorah does stand up for him, which is a little bit unexpected. I honestly expected when Dany and Jorah had a conversation, I kind of almost expected Jorah to take that mantle up quickly, but I
actually did too, which I thought was very interesting that he went to bat for Tyrion.
Yes.
Because it shows that, I mean, Jorah spent a lot of time with Tyrion.
Yeah, he did.
He brought Tyrion to Dany. He was the vehicle that brought Tyrion to Dany. And so he's realizing that this can't all go to the wayside. This can't all be for nothing. I brought this man to Dany for a reason. Because I saw something in him. And also because he was a gift. Because I wanted to get back into her good graces. But still, I saw something in him, and she saw something in him, and so I can't let her lose that. Because then he will be killed.
I saw in an article today. I wish I remembered which one it was. But somebody
There's so
said
many nowadays.
There are so many. Oh my gosh, the turnaround is insane. But I saw in one, and the author basically said that Jorah proves himself as one of the best advisors because he knows when somebody's better than he is.
Yes.
And in this case, I think that's exactly what happened. Is he recognized? Look, Tyrion slipped up.
I'm tearing up. I'm sorry.
You're
I love
tearing
Jorah
up.
so much. All right.
Oh, I finally sent her away. Oh my God.
God.
It was that bad.
God.
Oh my God, she's leaving.
God.
And that's the end of You Got forever. Sorry about that, folks. I got her back here
Yeah.
with
Hi.
me.
Yeah. Hi.
She's super excited.
Happy to be here.
The puns aren't going to stop.
Okay.
But yeah, I really think that because of Jorah, he is still, with everything that he and Dany have been through, he is still someone she trusts as a person that can be her advisor. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the hand of the queen, but someone she trusts with their opinion. And I think, again, kind of like the Jaime and Brienne scene, the way that Brienne vouched for Jaime is the way that Jorah vouched for Tyrion in the scene, and it's really the only thing that puts Tyrion back into Dany's good graces. I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm a little nervous about it because I'm still not sure where they're gonna go with his character.
Right,
But he could prove himself like he did in Blackwater, and that would be amazing.
I would hope so. Clearly, Jorah's words do matter because when all the characters are talking and Tyrion says, well, Sir Davos and I will be up in the front. We'll be up in the front ready to send the flare. She's like, Sir Davos is perfectly capable of doing that by himself.
I need your mind.
I need your mind. I need you to be in the crypts. So that also puts a very important character in the crypts.
Yeah. Which, man, guys.
Guys.
Okay, so.
Holy moly.
I mean, I think a lot of these characters are smart.
Yeah.
Until they do something like, well, there's an army of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
We know, Jon especially, again, knows nothing because
Jon is the dumb. Jon is the dumb.
Jon is the dumb. He's the coming of the dumb. And it sucks because he's seen what happens. If you die beyond the wall, and at this point I think if you die in general, you come back.
Oh yeah, the Night King will bring you right back. And honestly, White Walkers will bring you back because it was it was proved in last season that White Walkers can create whites.
Yeah.
So
why put people...
You're young and you're old.
You're young and you're old and you're very, very smart in the place with all the dead bodies.
Nope, I'm with you, baby. It is literally unfathomable how dumb this is.
My God.
Because
it's not going to be a surprising twist.
No. We know something bad is going to happen in the crypts. The crypts have been hinted at as a place of importance.
Dead people and importance.
Well, as a place of importance in the last few trailers,
yes.
Right? They have shown Arya running through the crypts, Jon, Sansa, and Arya standing in the crypts.
Yeah.
Jon found out he was a Targaryen in the crypts. Jon told Dany he's a Targaryen in the crypts.
Yep.
The crypts freaking matter. If Lyanna Stark does not come back to life as a White Walker, I'm going to lose my mind.
I want Headless Ned.
Look, Headless Ned would be great, but
yes.
It all happened in front of Lyanna Stark.
Yeah.
So, I'm saying we clearly need a zombified Lyanna Stark.
Yeah, we do.
Otherwise, I don't understand the point of the crypts. If they're putting all these people in the crypts just to be safe, we're not dumb.
Sense.
I'm sorry. The audience isn't dumb.
No.
We know. We're not dumb.
And they know.
Yeah.
They know. So hopefully they'll surprise us with something with that.
With that.
Yeah, I'm confident.
Yeah.
One scene that I thought was actually really nice was the scene between the Hound, Arya, and Beric. It was a very I feel like not much happened in that scene, which is nice. It was nice to just see them have an interaction. I like that it was kind of a very chill scene between Arya and the Hound.
And Arya and Beric, who has been both of whom have been on her list.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought was interesting is she said that for a while Beric was on her list. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of insinuates to us the Hound is off the list.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The Hound is off the list.
Beric is also off the list.
Yes. I do wonder, they talked about, the Hound kind of jokes, if I throw you off this wall right now, the Red
Lord
God,
of Light?
Lord of Light, will wonder why he brought you back so many times. And I do kind of wonder, like, where
Well, he
is
says
that
Thoros
here?
isn't here, so
Yes.
if I throw you off the wall, you're not able to get brought back.
That absolutely. But I do kind of wonder, like, at this point in the show, where is that religion? Where is the Red Woman's religion? Where does that lie? Where does that fall? And what do we think is going to happen to Barrack? Because he has been brought back so many times, and I do want to know what the reason is.
I agree.
Because there has to be, at this point, there has to be one.
I agree. These are very excellent questions you pose, Carly. We do know that Melisandre said that she will die in Westeros. She said the same thing to Varys. So I believe that Melisandre will either show up during the Battle of Winterfell or after it. And this depends on whether or not the Night King is fooling everyone and going around to King's Landing.
Yes.
Right, because everybody thinks that the Night King is going to be at the Battle of Winterfell. However, what we've seen so far only shows that his sons are there.
Right, his many
sons.
Many sons.
We don't know how many, but we know Craster had at least 99 sons.
Right.
So
and we've seen him with what, 4 White Walkers before?
We know that 3 have been murdered.
Yes.
By Dragonglass.
Yes.
But we do know that Craster said that he gave his sons to the White Walkers. In season 4, we watched the Night King turn one of Craster's sons into a White Walker. Therefore, we can assume if Craster has had 99 sons that he's given to the White Walkers, that's how many actual White Walkers we have.
Yeah.
Which is an insane amount.
It's insane.
Of White Walkers. Can I just say? Okay, so Melisandre has said that clearly she needs to die in Westeros. She needs to die in this strange country. I don't think that she will arrive until after it is necessary. I don't think they're going to use her as a Deus Ex Machina moment. They've already used a Bran Ex Machina moment way too many times. Yeah, I don't think that they would apply a Melisandre to that. I do think that she will matter. I think that she will show up, but I don't think it will be until episode 4 or 5.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree.
So but the Lord of Light will have consequence. I don't think it will be until after. And I hope that Beric Dondarrion survives because he is a Brotherhood without banners, because he does support the Lord of Light. However, because Thoros isn't around, I don't know that Beric will survive the Battle of Winterfell. That sucks for me.
Yeah.
I would love him to survive to meet Melisandre.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, I would love that. I personally, I think he might survive. I don't know. I think he's been brought back so many times. And again, I mean, I don't know that the religion focus was red herring in the show or what.
Right.
But
you think it was?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know if because we know that there is something. There is a Lord of Light or something.
Well, the Lord of Light is the only god that has ever shown power.
Right.
The old gods and the new gods, they're honored. Right. They're honored. But they don't show power, whereas the Lord of Light has exhibited.
Right. Yeah. And whether that's magic in the world, whether that's something else, I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know where Beric is going to go. I personally don't think he's going to die next episode. Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad that you think that. Yes. Because I would like to agree with you. The pessimist in me is worried that because Thoros of Myr is dead, they would just write off Beric as the next killable character. Yeah. No, I would hope that they don't just bring Beric back to kill him in the next episode. I mean, he was on Arya's list and he's not anymore. And that should say a lot about Arya as a character as well.
Yes. Speaking of Arya,
I think this is a great segue into Arya.
This is a great segue into Arya. Let's talk about our feelings. Arya gonna talk about what?
Sure. I'll talk about it. Although I couldn't even say the word in the last episode, I will absolutely talk about it in this episode.
Oh, guys.
Arya, first of all, can I just say, the first scene between Arya and Gendry. Gendry is hanging out in the blacksmithy, and Arya shows up, and he's just like,
doing his thing.
He sheathed a bunch of daggers made out of dragonglass, and she straight up bullseyes 3 of them.
Yeah.
While just talking about how she would love to see the Night King's face because she's seen death a bunch of times.
Yep.
I've stared death in the face. You think I can't handle it? Is basically what she says to Gendry in that moment. And Gendry is like...
In that moment, like, they were flirting before, but in that moment he was like,
Oh my God.
Okay.
No,
like
he was.
she's like
He
she's
needed
a
to go.
grown-up.
He needed to take a break after that moment.
Oh yeah, we all know he did.
Yeah, we know. Gendry needed to take a beat. We all know that.
Yeah.
So, the episode that happens, the scene that happens after this, is
weird.
Look, okay, we're gonna talk about it. It's cool. Here's what I think: Arya and Gendry, I mean, they have sex.
They do.
They do. So, Carly,
I shipped it until it happened, and then I felt weird.
I think, okay, so here's, I think, why a lot of people felt weird. And it's not because it's a man and a woman having consensual sex, because in Game of Thrones, that's a very, very important thing to see.
Yeah, and kind of a rarity.
And very rare. Arya has been the audience's little sister up until this point. We have watched her go through everything together in an empathizing way where we look at her as like, oh, I could protect her. So when
as
Arya,
a little child.
Exactly. As a young girl.
Yeah.
We as an audience have followed her through her warrior journey, through her fighter journey. At the same time, she's been becoming a woman. We can't deny that.
Right.
And so I don't think that this scene was misplaced.
No, I don't think so either.
I appreciate that Arya took initiative.
Yes.
And jumped on top of Gendry. I was like,
literally.
Girl, you are braver than I was. Like, I mean, like, she was impressive in this scene. And she was Arya to a full extent. I don't believe that Arya wouldn't have done this. And so that's why, like, when I watched the scene, I shrieked because, like, oh my God, my little sister is having sex for the first time.
Right. It was very
Oh my God, she's taking off his shirt. Oh my God, she's taking off her shirt. Oh my God, she's taking off her pants.
She has boobs.
Oh my God, she has breasts. Like, wow, it's a lot. But at the same time, she's a young woman now.
Yeah.
And just because she hasn't had sex up until this point doesn't mean that she won't.
Right.
And I think that it's kind of important that they showed us that. I don't know that it was necessary, but as a way of who Arya is, they needed to tell us that she is in charge of herself.
Right.
And that's why I'm very okay with what happened.
Yeah, and she is Arya. I mean, we know by now, like, she's not no one. She is Arya Stark.
Right.
She is Arya freaking Stark. She took that back. And I think that this was Arya making a decision to go, well, I'm going to forward myself with my life. Honestly, it was kind of a moment of normalcy for a character who has not had that in a very long time. I mean, her life has been anything but normal for, my God, like, since season 1. She's been on the run since then.
No, I know. And so to have her have some feeling of normalcy, right? Like, we all know what sex feels like. We all know what that is. So, like, for Arya to experience that, we can't identify with her in any other way except for this moment, arguably. I mean, she's been a cold-blooded killer this whole time.
Yeah.
So to have Arya have a moment where she is a human being experiencing something that all human beings experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it made kind of a lot of sense for me in that character arc for her to realize, okay, I have killed an entire house. I have changed so much. I have gone all across the world, but I haven't done this yet.
Yeah.
I gotta freaking do that before I die.
Check it off the list.
Right.
It's a different kind of list.
It's a different kind of list.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right. So I appreciated it. Like, it was weird for me in the moment. It was
super weird.
Very weird for me in the moment.
Super weird.
I can't watch this.
It's not
weird, but it wasn't that weird when I think about it.
Right. It's not.
Well, when I pull myself out of being her actual sibling.
It's a sex scene that I will not go back and rewatch to be like, oh, dang.
No,
like,
we definitely talked
good.
through it when it happened again. You and I were both like, and so, hi, how are you doing?
How was your day?
So nice. Yeah,
how's work?
But that has nothing to do, like, Arya chose to do this and took initiative of her body and took control of her body and did that.
Yeah.
And so to that, I applaud her.
Super empowering. Amazing and good for her. And he's
super
super hot.
And I can't wait to see what the two of them do in terms of fighting in the next episode.
My God, yes. I'm so excited about that.
Also, her look at the end of that.
Yes.
I wonder what she's thinking. What did you think? What first opinion?
I think she's battle focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, that's it?
Yeah, I think she checked it off the list, and I don't even think it was related to the sex. I think it was her looking off and kind of just wondering about, where am I going to be tomorrow? What's going to happen to both of us tomorrow? What's going to happen to any of us tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because we're back to the unpredictability.
It's not Arya being in that moment anymore. It's Arya like, okay, I've done this. Now let's move on to the next one. Like, let's see how I'm now thinking about the future.
Yes.
Like, I've checked this box. I've checked off this list. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So let's dive into what I thought was the heart and the core of this episode, which was our kind of ragtag group of characters sitting around the fire, drinking, having themselves a little laugh.
Yes.
And having, oh my God, just the best interaction that I've seen in the show in such a long time.
No, I'm so with you. I think that this was the absolute heart of the episode. It started off with Jaime and Tyrion, who have not been able to be brothers for a really, really long time, and kind of have this brotherly moment where, Tyrion says, if I could die, I would die 80, and like Jaime fills in on what he says. It's really wonderful. And then Bran and Pod show up.
Actually, Tyrion and Jaime talk about that earlier on the wall.
Oh, do they?
Yes, on the top of the castle.
See, look at you.
Ah.
Wow.
When they're in the kind of hangout space, whatever we're gonna call that, by the fireplace, they talk about how much they've changed, which is
yes. Well,
yes.
Is that when Tyrion calls Jaime out on? Is that also on the wall? That's also on the wall. All right, just take me through it.
But in this scene specifically, they talk about how much they've changed, and they really have. I mean, Jaime especially. But I mean, Tyrion in his own right. They kind of talk about how Jaime used to be the guy who slept with his sister, and Tyrion was the guy whose best friend was his brother, who again
also
slept with his sister. Yeah, and how Tyrion used to just kind of be like the one who slept with the whores, and both of them were like, "Wow, there's no going back, is there? Like here's where we're at." And the way that Tyrion wraps it up is he says, here's to changes basically, and like us bettering ourselves. But really, what's going on is, there's no going back to where we were or where they were.
Right.
Yeah, which is kind of amazing to look back at and reflect on. And I love that is discussed between these two characters. This is a reunion I've wanted pretty much, like, as much as I've wanted the Arya Jon reunion.
Yeah.
And this is really
Jaime
the first.
And Tyrion.
Yeah, in like a really pure moment of them just talking.
I agree. And I mean, it does start off with Tyrion trying to defend Jaime in his trial, but Daenerys is like, you failed me so many times, how could I believe you when you're talking about your own brother?
Right.
And so for Jaime and Tyrion to have this moment together, it lets the audience know that these two haven't quite, like, they get each other now.
Yes.
They're on the same page. They were not at all. They didn't see eye to eye, until this season, basically. And now Jaime has literally what Tyrion says, he's ridden to meet his consequences.
Yeah.
He has done this knowing that he might not be met with a positive outlook. He might die, but he did it anyway. And so that's kind of, I feel like that moment when after the trial of Jaime Lannister, when the two of them are together, they're still talking about it, because Tyrion and Jaime have had a difficult relationship.
Yes.
In the since Joffrey's death.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and then their conversation kind of leads to more people joining them, and it kind of becomes just the best scene ever.
And also the backbone of the episode.
The complete backbone and spirit of the episode. And really spirit of what we wanted to see before.
Yeah, spirit of Game of Thrones in general. Is that these characters that you don't expect, right? So it starts off with Tyrion and Jaime, and then Brienne and Pod show up, and Brienne is like, I don't want to drink, and Pod is like, I'll drink. She goes, one. I'll let you have one. But it's Jaime and Brienne, and it's Tyrion and Pod. And then you get Davos, who shows up, and I was just like, finally, thank God. They're giving him a moment. Thank you. He gets a moment also in the episode, which we'll talk about. And then Tormund shows up.
Yes.
And Tormund is actually the catalyst for change.
Yes,
which is kind of wonderful because he's a wildling.
Yeah.
So to have Tormund to be a part of that, I think, is actually a huge deal, right? Because Tormund is the one that kind of pushes Brienne to become a knight and pushes
Yes.
Jaime to knight her, right?
Which I love because we saw a while ago with I always say her name wrong, Ygritte. Ygritte.
I always pronounce the Y. Like
Ygritte.
It's kind of like in the back of your throat. Ygritte.
Sweet baby Y.
Sweet baby wildling.
Yep. I like that. Sweet baby wildling.
Sweet baby wildling.
She is our favorite ginger. A while ago, she had kind of made a comment to John saying, Beyond the Wall, like, the women man gender separation really isn't there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if a woman wants to be a warrior, she's a warrior. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I love that kind of came back in the scene with Tormund. It was awesome. Yes.
I agree. He is literally the one. He's like, I would knight you if I was the king. And
10 times over.
And that's literally, Jaime's like, well, any knight can make another knight. And then, you get this moment. And this moment wouldn't have happened had these characters not been facing their sudden death.
Yes.
I mean, like, you get Jaime, who is standing in the room with Brienne, who is this woman that has constantly been there for him and constantly kind of, like, gone to bat for him.
Yeah.
He can finally give back to her. So he's, without even thinking, he's like, oh, any knight can make a knight. Why don't you kneel, Brienne, like Lady Brienne? And he makes her a knight.
And it was amazing.
Like,
we see her smile.
Her smile.
Oh, it's the most rewarding
There
thing.
are no words.
Oh, I just want her to be happy. I want her to be the only one that survives. I don't care.
If Brienne survives, we'll be happy.
We'll all be happy. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I really loved this scene. I thought it was so beautiful.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
I thought the scene was so perfect. It was exactly what everybody needed.
Yeah.
Which
And
I love.
He knights her under the warrior, the mother, and the father? I don't know. I'll have to double check.
It was the warrior and the mother.
The warrior and the mother, and then one other. But he uses the new gods to honor her when he's in the realm of the old gods, which is very interesting, right? He uses the warrior and the mother, who are both new god. They're one of the seven. They're one of the seven.
I don't think I knew that.
Well, there you go, my dear. There you go. New things. Old gods are the weirwoods. So it's interesting that Jaime chose to knight her under the new gods instead of the old. But
it is, yeah.
But that's who Jaime is. Like, that, even though they're in Winterfell, it still means being a knight. And most knights get knighted under the seven. Well, she got knighted under the three. But what I want to talk about, actually, in terms of her knighting is, the episode was called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, right?
Yes.
This actually relates heavily to Sir Duncan the Tall, who was a distant relative of Brienne and was knighted in a similar kind of strange fashion. He is one of the main subjects of the books called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is written by George R. R. Martin. I highly, highly, highly recommend checking that out, because not only is it funny, but it gives you a really lovely insight as to the world of Westeros 100 years prior to what goes on in the Song of Ice and Fire. That being said, Sir Duncan was knighted rather ambiguously. And so it's interesting that Brienne is kind of knighted in a similar fashion, where it's just kind of a knight chooses that this woman deserves to be honored and knighted. It was a wonderful kind of callback to when Sir Duncan was knighted, because he served as more of a hedge knight. As his old master, Sir Arlen, tells him, other knights serve as lords who can keep them or from whom they hold their lands, but we serve where we will, for men whose causes we believe in. Every knight swears to protect the weak and the innocent, but we keep the bow best, I think. And I think that serves perfectly to Brienne, because she has always chosen to protect those who she wants to protect. Mm-hmm. I mean, she honored this deal with Catelyn Stark that she made from the beginning to rescue both of her daughters. She fought the Hound for Sansa, and she's there for Arya, and she's there for Sansa. And it's very important. So I think that, like, it's a wonderful callback that not only is this episode named A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, but it's a reckoning back to Sir Duncan and what happened in the past. And I very much appreciate that is what they did with that.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah. And they actually did that with the song that Pod sings around the fire.
They do.
They do. And it's, again, like, it's just kind of this episode being rich with what Game of Thrones is about, which is that rich lore that it's based in. But
well, I mean, the song that Pod sings is about Jenny of the Old Stone, who was
Yes.
married to Duncan Targaryen,
Yes.
which is a very similar story to what happened with Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. And so it's a very interesting, like if you go back and you read, you know, the lyrics that Pod is singing, we know why the writers chose him to sing that.
Yes.
But, you know, it's still a beautiful tale to tell in the ending moments of your life, right?
I agree.
So-
And let's dive into one of the best scenes in the episode, Sansa and Dany.
I think that this is one of the most interesting sort of interactions in this episode, because in the first episode, Sansa extends this olive branch that's not really an olive branch to Dany, right? She says, Winterfell is yours, which is kind of in passing what Ned said to Robert. So she's kind of jesting a little bit. I don't know that she's playing the game with Dany, clearly.
Yes. Yeah.
Is what Sansa's doing. So this episode is actually Dany extending the olive branch to Sansa.
With conditions.
With conditions, yes. However, I thought it was very, very interesting, right? So the two of them finally sort of start seeing eye to eye through their love for Jon, right? I mean, Dany says, I love someone else, but he was taller. And they both laugh. So Sansa says, yeah, we're on the same page. You and I understand each other. However, the Northmen took the North back after not having had it for however many years. What do you say about the North? Sansa, holy moly. So if this
She's
episode,
coming to her own.
if this episode was to, if this scene was to show anything, it's to show how much Sansa has grown and Dany has not.
Yes, which I was so excited to kind of see in this episode, because I do think that in the past few seasons, especially last season when we saw Dany come to the aid of the North, which I kind of personally thought in that scene was a moment of change for Dany, almost too drastically. I liked seeing a little bit of the old Dany, and honestly, I liked seeing a little bit of that the Targaryen fire in her that's a little bit worrying. It really is, because we know where she came from. We know who her father was.
Right. He's the Mad King, right,
He's,
of course.
He's the Mad King. And she is and always has been a conqueror. A Targaryen and a conqueror. That's really where she shines, is being a conqueror. And I don't know how much she's going to budge, even for the North, even for somebody who she loves.
Right.
So I liked seeing that, like... is a strong word, because I do wish she would change and budge a little bit, but at the same time, like, this is still the Dany we've always seen. She still has the same goals.
Well, it's interesting to see how she reacts to the person that she loves sister.
Yes.
Right? Like the fact that she isn't even willing to see eye to eye with Sansa at the very end is very, very telling for what kind of leader Dany is and wants to be. And if, again, we've said this time and time again, Dany keeps saying she wants to break the wheel.
Right.
In order to break the wheel, you have to destroy the wheel.
Right.
And she's not doing that.
No.
She's playing on the safe side by talking to Sansa, by talking to Theon, by talking to Jon. She thinks she can do it. But with Jon finally telling her at the end of the episode, you know, I'm the king, Dany, I think, is now threatened again.
I think she
and
is.
I worry about
too.
that.
I am surprised he told her at all.
I am too.
Yeah.
Well, as we talked about last episode, we said, what is Jon going to do with this dispersal of information?
Yeah.
And you and I both agreed it would be smart not to tell Dany.
We know he's not the smartest.
Well, Jon doesn't know much.
No, he still knows nothing. It's amazing.
Know much. So it's, yeah. So he straight up tells Dany.
Yeah.
And Dany, and Dany's like, well, my brother raped Lyanna Stark. And they didn't love each other at all. And Jon goes, no, he loved her.
Yeah.
And it's like.
And divulges the whole thing.
And divulges all
that he's a Jongarian, and that's all he tells.
Jongarian. Oh, man. Yeah. I definitely think that Daenerys's reaction was very telling for the war to come.
Yeah. And worrying. I think it's going to distract her from the war to come. I think that I think we're going to get a true Song of Ice and Fire, which I think that
true Song of Ice and Fire.
In that I do think that she and Jon are going to face off.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I kind of think that no, I think that loyalty's being tested.
Okay.
I really do.
Well, look. If I were in Jon's shoes, I might not have spilled this pertinent information so soon. I might have talked to someone about it first.
Yep.
Maybe Davos. or Tyrion or Varys or my
Sam.
sister or Sam. Who knows already? Like, literally to have another conversation with Sam about it.
Yeah.
But instead, Sam goes and gives Heartsbane to Jorah.
Which was great.
Which was wonderful.
That was awesome.
Oh my god. First of all, can I just say, if anybody deserves to have a freaking Valyrian steel sword, it's Jorah Mormont.
It's Jorah Mormont.
There's no question. But Sam could have played a way more important role in this episode than just having, you know, been there for Jorah and watching Lyanna Mormont and Jorah talk. Like that. Like, and look, not that I'm saying I'm not glad that we got that moment.
It was amazing. That moment was great. Cousins.
Give me cousins anytime. Thank you. I thought it was sold a bit short with the entrance of Sam. I think that, you know, Lyanna and Jorah have not seen each other at all, and they are the last remaining Mormonts. And, like, we should have gotten a little bit more. I'm just saying.
No, I agree with that, yeah.
And then I love that Jorah got Heartsbane, because it means that he might actually stand a chance.
I hope he does.
In this next episode.
I think he'll be fine. I do. I do think that Theon is going to die.
Well, Theon literally volunteered himself to protect Bran.
He sacrificed himself.
I think Theon's journey has been one of that he does have to die.
I think he does. I really do. I think he does.
And even though his relationship with Sansa, which I'm not quite sure how we're supposed to feel about
right. Okay, that was put with all the other couples in the way that it was presented, and I don't see them that way. I see them as like,
I do.
I know you do.
I do.
I know.
It's the first time Carly and I have disagreed all season.
Wow.
But,
all 2 episodes.
I know, all 2 episodes. But you don't think that they should be a couple, and I do.
No,
right?
I don't. Yeah. I think I like this pure like family reunion. I want them to just kind of be siblings. Like that's what I want, because that's how they were raised.
Yeah. Now, see, I thought that would have been the case,
Sorta.
but that second scene that they show where they're both eating on the grounds of Winterfell and looking at each other's eyes, I was like,
a lot of eye sex.
I was like, there's love.
A lot of eye sex.
So much eye sex in this episode.
Of it.
So
Jamie and Brienne's sex scene with their eyes was my favorite.
That was the best sex scene ever in Game of Thrones.
Ever.
Wholeheartedly.
My God.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I'm with you on that. No, I loved that Sam gave Jorah Heartsbane, mainly because it means that Jorah has meant something this whole time, and that to me is very important. Like, Jorah has always been a character in the books, but he's been this, like, you know, lovesick puppy.
Right, friend-zoned puppy.
Friend-zoned puppy. Well, and the friend zone is stupid, but, like,
agreed.
Jorah in the show has also been this. And so for him to, like, mean something and to have a weapon that actually, like, that he'll wield in his father's honor is huge.
It's huge.
Because we forget that Georg Mormont was, like, a really big... He matters. He matters. Yes. He mattered. Past tense, he mattered. Yes. And I think that that's a wonderful thing to bring back around. If we're talking about a cyclical show... Yeah. To bring back Jorah fighting in his father's honor is very important.
I agree. Yeah. I'm really excited to see Jorah fight too, because man, is it fun to watch him fight.
Oh my God, he's so good.
He's so good. So I think the only thing left to talk about is best for last is Davos talk. Because Davos was in this episode.
He was.
Lots of times.
I mean, okay, so Davos was in the last episode, but literally got like a few lines, and he was basically telling information that we'd already been told. Davos got his own freaking scene in this episode.
Yeah, he did.
First, he gets to spend some time. He's giving out rations to whoever's at Winterfell, right? Mm-hmm. That's how Davos spends this scene. And this man comes up and says, like, I've never fought before. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. And Davos says, I wasn't a knight.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know how to live. I was just a smuggler. Like, I barely survived.
Davos
so if
tells
I can survive, anybody can survive. And he tells this man that, and he tells him where to go get his stuff, and the guy does. Like, it's very wonderful.
Yeah.
And then a little girl shows up. Her name is Tila, and she looks very much like a young Shireen Baratheon.
So sad. Even the same, like,
And Davos can barely speak, right? He has this moment, like, he looks at her, and he's just like, oh, my God. And the little girl is talking about how her brothers are all going to fight in this war. And she really, really wants to be. And Davos can't quite tell her not to. And Gilly shows up and says, well, you know, there will be plenty of brave souls in the crypts that need defending.
The super safe crypts that need defending.
super safe crypts that everybody says will be so safe, except there are
Full
dead
of dead
people there.
people.
It's fine. Yeah, and then, you know, the little girl accepts. She's like, okay, I'll go battle in the crypts instead.
Yes.
And I just thought, like, this moment to me is so poignant because Davos, all he wanted was for Shireen to survive.
Yeah.
All he wanted was for Shireen to live this life that she never could. And he got that with this little girl.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if there's a little bit of fulfillment there. And if there's a little bit of acceptance as, like, Davos, like, yes, maybe he blames himself a little bit for Shireen's death. However, he saved this one girl, so
yes,
he's okay.
And,
like, I know it's not that much, but that's enough for Davos talk for me, you know?
I think that was a beautiful Davos talk. I also think that if we're talking about an episode where people are redeemed in certain ways, not that he had anything to redeem himself for, but I think for himself, I think this helped him.
He protected a girl like Shireen, and therefore he has
he couldn't before.
Yeah, I agree. He's recompensed.
He has.
Thank you for this moment and Davos talk. I really appreciate it.
The last thing really is kind of what to expect in the war to come. And man, there's a lot of questions that we both had, especially like again with just the crypts and why. Why? But one of the things that we were kind of wondering about is, and kind of a theory that's been getting traction is whether or not the Night King is even going to show up.
Yeah, at the Battle of Winterfell in this next episode. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a theory that, you know, he's actually using his White Walkers, all 99 of Craster's sons, to lodge the attack on Winterfell as a distraction while he goes to King's Landing.
Right.
And
where he has a huge army that
he
nobody
takes
is prepared to
Viserion
protect.
And just damages all of King's Landing, and then he gets Cersei as queen, and that's who our heroes have to fight at the end of this show. I'm not sure, but I like this theory. I appreciate it because it means, I mean, we know that the Night King is a warg and he has green sight.
Yes.
I don't believe that he doesn't know what's coming. He is a huge foe.
I agree.
He's the biggest foe, arguably.
He is the biggest foe.
So,
for sure.
If he doesn't know what's going on or if he doesn't have any supernatural power against that, I would not believe it.
No, I totally agree. Kind of keeping that in mind, that would sort of mean that this next battle we're looking forward to, the Battle of Winterfell, the battle that's been built up this entire, like, for how long now? For just forever. The 90 minutes of fighting that we have to look forward to.
They literally added an extra 20 minutes onto this episode.
Right.
Did they do it for fan fodder? No.
No, it's just carnage.
Right.
That would mean this would not be the biggest battle we'd have to look forward to. Which is a little bit insane to think about. That, you know, this next episode, as bad as it's going to be, it's not going to be as bad as the battle to come, which would be at King's Landing or would be in between. I don't know.
Kaelin, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's... I wouldn't put it past the Night King. We didn't see him at the end of last episode, which was
I thought
weird.
that was very interesting.
Yes.
Because if you want to show a battle, you would
show the person leading it.
Villain. You would show this villain, and all they show is his sons. So I agree with you on that.
And no dragon.
Right, and where's Viserion? So we don't know where the Night King is at this point. If he's even a part of this battle, I would be very surprised.
I would be too. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of the other thing to think about with that, they're trying to lure the Night King to Bran by using Bran as bait. If Bran kind of, his theory, I think, is that the Night King wants him dead to get rid of the memories of humanity. Right. So why would the Night King be the one to have to do that? He has a whole army. It wouldn't even necessarily be the Night King going to him.
Because I have his mark.
I guess. I don't know. There's so many questions I have, and I
agree. And I'm very excited for,
so excited. I'm so nervous.
Episode, even though it's very far away, because look, the Battle of Winterfell will be extremely telling.
Yes.
No matter what happens. I think a lot of characters are going to die. We're going to post a poll on our Twitter account about who you think is going to die, so please let us know.
Yes.
We're very interested to see what will happen in this third episode. I mean, clearly it's going to be one for the books.
I'm scared. One for the books that it still have to be finished.
It's not the worst battle yet, is what I wholeheartedly believe.
I kind of hope at this point. Yeah, I think that'd be... Ugh. yeah, I think that's all we have for the last episode. The last calm episode before the storm that's coming up on Sunday because
Dun,
oh my
dun,
God.
dun.
Oh, get ready.
Take a deep breath before you watch it.
Yeah, do a little meditation practice. Yes, so thank you so much for listening to You Got God.
Yeah.
My name is Carly. You can find me at on Twitter at Chillin555. That's CHILLYN 555. Or on my website that you can find all my social channels through there. It's just carlinhill.com.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter at Commander Tully, one word. That's what I got.
Nice.
But you can also follow the podcast on Twitter at YGGPod. We will be posting a poll as to who you think might pass in this next episode. We have a few options. I think the options are Tyrion, Theon,
Jorah, I think was one of them.
Yep,
and we'll leave you some surprises.
And the last one will be a surprise, so you'll see. But please make sure to subscribe to us via that.
Please, and you know what? Leave us a review if you're at it, because like that'll just really help us. I know we've never said this before.
We have some nice ratings, but we'd love a few more reviews.
We would love a few more reviews. It's the last season. It's maybe not our last season. It's definitely not our last season.
By any
podcasting.
means.
No, we're still always good. But we would love a review. We would love to hear your feedback, and also keep your eye out for minisodes because we've been talking about them for a little while. They are coming. We promise.
Yes, subscribe
we are very
this week.
busy.
I think there are going to be 2 this week. If
There
not 2,
are.
there will at least be 1.
And wow, until the Battle of Winterfell, the night is dark.
But full of Davos.